All right, so today we're going to talk about evaluating an expression. Does anyone know what that means to evaluate an expression? Let's first start off with, what is an expression? Who remembers what an expression is? To express. In math, what is an expression? Say that again. Yeah, so it's basically we have some terms and there's no equal sign. Good. So an expression you can see is like this. We have letters and numbers, but there's no equal sign. What do we call it once there is an equal sign? Equation. Very good. Okay. So what we have is when we're evaluating an expression, they give us some expression, like this is an expression here, where we see letters and numbers. And to evaluate means they tell us what X represents, what Y represents. So they tell us what those letters represent. So then we're just going to take those and substitute them in and find what this actually equals. Is it equal 10? Is it equal 8? I don't know. We're going to put those numbers in. When it's an equation, so let's say I had this for my equation. When it's an equation, we have this equal sign here. And we don't know what X represents. When it's an equation, we find out what X represents, okay? So an expression, they tell us, we plug it in. When it's an equation, we'll find out. Okay, so just a reminder at this point, we should have phones away, earbuds out of our ears, phones away. We don't need our phones out in math class, thank you. Go and pull out those AirPods or whatever those things are called. What happens if you lose one? You don't have the wire to like find it. I'm going to pull out both sides of the AirPods, and I just try to have to now look at everyone's ears on both sides. Go and pull down your hoods. That's part of the school policy, no hoods on. You're not trying to hide AirPods in there. Go and pull down your hood. Pull it down. If someone comes and sees the hood, I get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble. Down your hood. You have to, it's part of the school policy. Your hair looks marvelous. Put down your hood, please. Let us see how beautiful it is. Okay, so evaluating an expression. Andrew, seriously, yes, take care of it. Thank you. Hey, if it were me, I'd say sweatshirts, hoods up all the way, we could stay cozy, but it's school policy, Fairfax County policy. So first we want to write the variable expression with parentheses. That's just these things, right? Parentheses. Instead of the variable. Okay. So wherever there's the letter, so our variable, that's like our X, Y, or Z. Sometimes they go crazy and put in a W, or P or Q. So wherever you see the letter, you want to put the parentheses instead. Then we're going to substitute the given value into the parentheses. And when it says the given value, we're talking about the number. So whatever number they told us into the parentheses. Then we simplify. So then we're actually going to find out what our answer is. And we use order of operations. Order of operations. Sorry, sometimes I write my F's funny. This is an F here. That's an OF. Order of operations. And so order of operations, that's our PEMDAS or our GEMDAS. That's our PEMDAS or PEMDAS. Okay, so that's what order of operations is. So let's start off with the pretty simple, easy one, number 1. Okay? Evaluate X plus 4 when X equals 12. So first thing you want to do is put an equal sign. Instead of X, I'm going to put parentheses. Okay, so that's our first step. And it says substitute the given value into the parentheses. What did it say that X equals? 12. So I'm just going to put 12 in there. Okay, so X is 12. Wherever we see an X, we're going to slap 12 in there. And then now we just simplify. I don't need the parentheses here to add. Sometimes we need the parentheses when it's multiplication or when we have exponents, but here we don't need it for adding. What is 12 plus 4? 16. So 16 is our answer. Now, let's suppose they told us x was 2. Would that give us an answer 16? No, so it's going to change depending upon that. Good. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Evaluate 15 minus a. All right, so 15 minus parentheses. All right, what did they say a is?
9.
9.
So 15 minus 9.
So 15 minus 9, which is? 6. Very good. Guys are rocking and rolling. All right, not too bad, right? Do we have any questions so far? Okay, so now we're going to get a little more complicated, where there's something more than just 2 numbers. Yes?
When the variable is exactly right next to the number, that means multiplication, right?
Yeah, so like 2x would be 2 times whatever that x is. Very good. Oh, look, 2x, man, I'm good. Okay. So we can see we have both x and y here. So when we rewrite this, we're going to write 2 parentheses. What do I have instead of x? Negative 3 halves. Good, so let's go and write that in there. I'm going to do that in a different color. Negative 3 halves. Okay. And then it says minus, parentheses, 5 minus 3 times, what do we have instead of y? 2. Okay. We need to close our parentheses cube. So notice my bigger set of parentheses, that's this guy here. And then my smaller set, that's just to let us know where y is. Okay, so there's a little more happening. We still just do order of operations. So the first thing we want to do is, again, think PEMDAS or GEMDAS. E, M, D, A, S. Okay, so parentheses. So I see inside my parentheses here, I need to simplify this first. So when we go to simplify inside of here, do I do 5 minus 3, or do I do 3 times 2?
3 times 2.
Good, 3 times 2. Okay, so let's rewrite this. I should have had more space. Alright, so 5 minus, what's 3 times 2? 6. Or if you think negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, either way. Cute. Okay, we still have to simplify inside of our parentheses. What is 5 minus 6? Negative 1. Okay, so I'm just going to put equal sign here. So 2 times negative 3 halves minus, and that's negative 1 cubed. Okay, we're almost done. So we've taken care of parentheses. Next, because there's nothing more to do inside my parentheses, right? There's just one number there. Next is exponent. Hey, I do have an exponent there. So I need to do my exponent. What is negative 1 to the third? Yeah, very good, negative 1. And on your calculator, remember, on our calculator, we would do parentheses, negative 1, parentheses. And to say to the third, we just do our little upper caret here. 3. And this is negative 1. All right. I lost the right one. All right, I'm going to borrow the space over here. Let's see, I can squeeze it in there. All right, so I have 2 times negative 3 halves. We have minus. You guys said this whole thing was negative 1, right? Ooh, what happens when we have minus and negative? Good, plus and positive, so that's just an add. Okay, so we took care of exponents, so next is multiplication or division. Well, I can see I have 2 times negative 3 halves here. So we want to do that first. Let's put that in our calculator. 2 times, parentheses, you don't even have to write the times, you can put 3. Was it negative 3 or positive?
No.
Was it negative? Okay. Negative 3 divided by 2. Close your parentheses there. What do we get? Negative 3, very good. All right. So this whole thing here is just negative 3. How about that? So negative 3 plus 1.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. That's our answer. Now, as you can see, we used our calculator to help us out along the way. If you can do a depth calculator, awesome. That'll be even better for next year. But if you need the calculator, use it. Just make sure you write your steps along the way.
We're gonna be able to use
You'll get the calculator for your quizzes and tests. On the SOL this year, they weren't supposed to show calculators, but this year they decided to let you have it one more year. As we get close to SOLs, we'll also learn Desmos, and you can use Desmos on the SOL as well. All right, questions with number 3? Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. All right, so number 4, look at that, they gave us 3 letters. How nice. Okay, I'm gonna. So again, we want to rewrite it. So I have -3. What do I have instead of x? 4. So parentheses. And I have y, so parentheses y, which was -2 minus 2 squared all over -2 times 6. Okay. So let's go and do a bit of simplifying here. All right, so we see we need to start off with our parentheses. We've got some parentheses right here on top. I'm going to use my highlighter so you can see what I'm talking about. So I have to deal with those parentheses. And because it's a fraction, I need to also simplify the top and simplify the bottom. So we can kind of do a little bit of that at the same time. All right. So I still have -3 times 4. What's -2 minus 2 give us? -4, good. And again, you can use your calculator to help you out with that. Now, because I have to simplify the bottom as well, I can go ahead and do that. So what is -2 times 6?
I'm ready to work on that.
Yeah, if you need more space, you can go off the back. That'd be fine.
well,
-12. Good. Don't lose your negative there. Okay. So now we need to go ahead and do our exponents. So I still have -3 times 4.
360.
Good. Positive 16. Yeah, see, there's that negative that's snuck in there again. So -4, negative is inside my parentheses. If you do that on your calculator, you get positive 16. We still have -12 on the bottom. And I'm running out of space. It really does not have space. I have to squeeze it up. Okay. So we've got just the number on the bottom. We need to do the same thing for the top. So looking at the top, what do we do first? The multiplication or the addition? Multiplication, that comes first and everything else. Good. So -3 times 4. Good. -12 plus 16 over -12. All right, and then we go and simplify. What's -12 plus 16?
40.
Positive 4. Good. Positive 4 over -12. And if you put that in your calculator, it'll give you a decimal, but it does turn back into a fraction. What does that turn into?
Wait. 1/3.
Good, 1/3. Now, is there a negative with that?
Yeah, -1.
Good, -1/3. That's our answer. Now, as we do this more and more, you'll realize that we can do some of this stuff at the same time. And for some of you, you might remember that from last year, that, hey, we could actually go ahead and simplify. You notice we could have gone ahead and simplified this into our -12, but we just couldn't have done anything more with it, so we simplified it over here. Okay. Do we have any questions on those first 4? All right, I want you guys to go ahead and try number 5 and number 6. So those are kind of big. Let's start off with just number 5, because number 6, that fraction is kind of weird. So I want you to try number 5. And just a reminder, this cube root here, we want to hit math. It's option 4. Okay, so math option 4 to get that cube root. All right, so math
So do we do that before expecting the -1?
You'll write the negative, you'll type -1 first, and then you have to do math option 4 to get that cube root. Now we can run the vote. If you have questions, just raise your hand.
Negative 12.3.
I got -4.
Is this fine?
Ooh, so you want to be careful. Here, guys, this is something else to be very careful.
Oh, you don't type the whole thing down.
So, our expression, let's see if I can make this a little smaller.
Work with me, smart boy. You can do it. It's a little slow.
Okay, so when we go to put this in our calculator, so I see everyone's doing a really good job, -1, and then we have to do cube roots. We do math, option 4, there's our cube root. Okay, so what did A represent?
64.
64. Notice how A is the only thing underneath my square root. My square root stops right there. So we want to make sure we get outside of that square root. If we keep typing, notice it stays underneath the square root. So I don't want to keep typing. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to arrow back and delete it. How do I get outside of my square root?
You click the right arrow.
Yeah, you just click the right arrow. See, now it's outside of it. So now we want to continue and write plus. And then for our B, I think we need to have this parentheses. So I'm going to write it here. So I have -1 cube root of 64. And then parentheses squared, so 4 squared. So we need those parentheses in our calculator. So plus parentheses 4. And you can either do the arrow and then 2, or you can hit the square there, either way.
Wait, so when you do that little thing that you just clicked on the right side,
Okay.
is that when you can make the square number any?
Yeah, so instead of being squared, you can do cubed, or to the 4th, or to the 8th, yeah. And you can even use it for squared. They just also have a button. So notice my radical ends at the 64, and then everything else is outside.
This is 12.
Guys, I hear 12. Lots of 12s. Good. And it's already in the box. Okay. So little things like that, you have to be careful with. The calculator is great, but you have to be mindful of those things. All right, number 6. Do we have any questions with number 5? Okay, number 6. What is the value of this expression when x equals 2/7? They gave us a fraction. That's okay. We will use parentheses to help save us. All right, so notice it's x squared. So I'm going to put in parentheses squared, and our x is 2/7. Plus 7x, so 7 parentheses, and x is 2/7. That's a 7. That's a 7. And then minus 2. So 2/7 squared plus 7 times 2/7 times 2 squared. On your calculator, what is 2/7 squared? It's a crazy decimal, but it does go back into a fraction.
1/8.
Should be 1/8. We want to go parentheses. Make sure you have those parentheses. 2 divided by 7. Close your parentheses.
Square.
Then hit your square. Did we get that crazy decimal?
Yeah.
Okay, turn it back into a fraction. How do we turn it back into a fraction?
Math.
Good. Math frac. You should get 4/49. You should.
But I got 2.
Good. 4/49.
I got 2.
Did you put your hair? All right, so this very first number is 4/49.
Are you supposed to put another
So you want to do parentheses 2 divided by 7 parentheses squared. All right, and then on your calculators, go and type what 7 times parentheses 2 over 7. 2, good. So again, make sure you use those parentheses. So again, 7 parentheses 2 divided by 7. Make sure, well, I don't want to divide it twice. Make sure that you use those parentheses. Good. And then we still have our minus 2. Okay? Yeah. So the blue one, it's a curly brace. We will use that for set notation. You actually don't have to worry about it in probably any of your high school math classes. Okay, so now we need to simplify. Addition has this cool thing. Notice it's adding and subtracting, right? So we want to just go left to right, but there's something really neat about this. What does positive 2 and negative 2 give you? 0. If I have 2 and then I take 2 away, you have 0. So this is actually just 0. What's 4 over 49 plus 0? 4 over 49. So you could actually type this into your calculator as you see it. I'll go and show you that. So whenever we have that fraction, we always want to put fractions in parentheses for a calculator. Or actually, you guys have the new fancy updated calculators in front of you. So let me show you something really neat with this. If you hit alpha, I want everyone to hit alpha y equals. It has this like secret little menu. My calculator in high school didn't have this. It was from many years ago. So alpha y equals. That very first one means it's going to give you a nice fraction bar. Go and hit enter. See how it gives you that fraction, how we write it? That's so much nicer to type in, right? So you could do parentheses 4 divided by 49, or if you remember alpha y equals, then you can just type it in like this. 4. To get down to the bottom, just arrow down. 49.
You don't have to put that in parentheses.
No, if you have it vertical like that, you don't have to put it in parentheses. Now, notice it's still underneath the fraction bar. If you want to get outside of it, arrow to the right. And then we can do plus 2 minus 2. So that's super nice because you can type it like you see it. Not all calculators have this though, so I will always show you using the parentheses as well. But if you get the nice updated calculator, alpha y equals, and that pops up, awesome. And so that's why our answer is 449. 449 is because, again, those cancel out. Okay, so which answer was it? A? Okay, I want to go ahead and take a look at number 8, because 8 and then the bottom two, which apparently don't have numbers on them, should have been 9 and 10. They're similar in how we go about it. So it says evaluate y equals x plus 2 when x equals negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 1. So what they're telling us, and notice the notation's a little different down here. They have this really weird looking E thing that's actually a Greek letter called epsilon. You don't need to worry about that. All this notation is saying is the exact same thing as this up here. It's just saying that x equals negative 2, and it also equals negative 1, and 0, and 1. So what we're going to do is we want to basically do the same process for each of these numbers. So I'm going to first just go and list out my x's at negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 1. And then I'm going to repeat this process for each of my numbers. Because you guys said earlier, if x is a different value, then my answer is going to change, right? So each time my x changes, my y answer is going to change. So it says to evaluate. So I'm going to go ahead and do my first one here. I don't know what y is, that's what I'm trying to find. The x is negative 2 plus 2. What does that give me? 0. So when x is negative 2, y is 0. Then we're just going to repeat this, okay? So I'm just simply taking my x value and I'm putting it in for x and solving. So it was -2 plus 2, which gives us 0. So what we found out is y equals 0 for that particular situation. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing, but with -1. -1's going to go up there. All right. So now I have, I'm going to just go and write it over here. Y equals, instead of x, I have now -1 plus 2. Good, very good.
The other was 2
What's that?
for the, when we have 0, for 0 until the.
Then, yeah. So when x is -1, my y value is 1. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's do 0. Y equals, instead of x, we put 0 plus 2. Y equals. And then our last one. Instead of x, I'm going to put 1 plus 2. 1 plus 2 is? 3. So it's really just a way to make you do it multiple times. Now, why do we have it in this particular format? Because this is building up to when we can actually write the equation of a line or draw the equation of a line. This is an equation of a line. I can already tell you that on my graph, it's going to start here. Oh, sorry, no, it's not going to start there. It's going to start up here. And it's going to look something like this. So I know that just simply from my equation. What this tells me is that if I look on my graph and go to the point 0, 2, that's a point on my graph. So these are points on our graph. So it's building up to something we're learning. Okay, any questions with number 8? All right, let's go back and do number 7 here. Little absolute value. Yeah, go ahead and try number 7 on your own. Let's see how you do with it.
No, I said I want to do it.
Well, I want all of you to do it.
What's that sign that's next to the parentheses?
Down here. It's a Greek letter. It's called epsilon. What it means in math is belongs to. So it says x belongs to the set of -2, -1, 0, 1.
Or really?
It's just saying x equals those numbers. It's another way of saying it. Yeah, so for this, when you go down here, every time there's an x, you replace it. So you would have -2 squared minus -2 plus 1. With this one. So they tell us that n is -1. So let's go ahead and rewrite this with the -11 inside. Very good. -5 and 7. Good. And don't forget there's a negative inside because it was -5, right? And then what is that? Good. So we're going to multiply here, right? Go for parentheses around this when you're multiplying. And you can go to this one back here. That's exactly. That's very good. That's very good. Here we go back here. Grandma's over here. Okay, so number 7. So we've got negative. Let's go ahead and rewrite that out. So we have -3. And then the absolute value bar, right? Now instead of n, what do we have? -11. Good. There you go. So it's -6. Be careful, it's a -11. Less close.
thinking, we're taking, so we've got one is positive and one is negative. You should lose your calculator. Lose yourself in pieces. There's our thing. There you go. There you go. Okay, so now we have to do absolute value -5. What's the absolute value? Very good. Multiplication, good. So that's -3 times 5. Got your answer. Oh, we didn't do that one either, so come on, let's do what? Let's scratch this.
Okay, see, good work. Number 7, I want to go over it together for those of us that aren't sure how to do this one. Alright, so again, we're going to rewrite this. So I have -3, my absolute value bar. What do we have instead of n? -11, good. Don't lose your negative. And then +6. Okay, so now we have to think again in terms of our PEMDAS, GEMDAS, right? So to go inside my absolute value first. So I'm going to still write my -3 and my absolute value bars. What is -11 plus 6?
5.
-5. But once we do the absolute value, what is absolute value of -5? 5. Good. And this is multiplication. -15. Good. Very good. All right. Any questions with that? All right. I feel like this one here is a little tricky. It's just a lot of work, right? So we have the same x values. I'm going to start off by writing my x values. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and start off with my 2. So I have y equals -2 quantity squared minus -2 plus 1. So you want to be careful with your parentheses there. Yes. I'll wait until we're done, then you can go. All right, so I'm just going to go and do this first one by hand, and then we'll double check your calculator. So again, I want to do exponents first. What is -2 quantity squared?
4.
Good, +4. And again, if I have minus a negative, that becomes plus a positive, right? All right, so we get 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 1. Good, so that means this 7. Okay, so the key thing to be careful with, this is +4. And that was minus a negative, so it became plus a positive.
Wait, you were supposed to add the parentheses.
So we had the parentheses there because it's minus negative. Otherwise, you can think of it as -1 times -2, which still gives you positive 2. Either way. But that subtraction sign is why we're changing it to minus the negative. That's why we're not just doing -4 times 2, because it's minus the negative. Are there other questions with that one? Okay. Now, keep in mind you have your calculator to help you out, right? So you can use your calculator, especially when the expression's bigger like that. You always want to write your setup so that I know what you're putting into your calculator. Because if you get the number wrong and I can't see what you put into your calculator, then I don't know if you did any of it right. I can't give you any partial credit. But if you show me what you did do, you might get some partial credit. So for our next one, with -1, I would have y equals -1 quantity squared. So instead of x squared, -1 squared. Minus, I get -1 plus 1. So on my calculator, we can use that to help us out, right? Your calculator knows order of operations, which is super nice. It knows the correct order to do it. You just have to tell it the correct. You just have to make sure you type it in correctly so it knows how to do it correctly. So we don't need to type y equals, that's what we're trying to figure out. So I have parentheses, -1, parentheses, squared, that's what I've got there, minus, parentheses, -1, and then plus 1. And so I'm just typing it like I see it here. Enter, and we get 3. So I have equals 3. And then what's really nice with this is that for my next one, 0, I can actually, if you arrow up, see it highlighted the 3 there. If I arrow up again, it highlights this. Hit enter. It's like a copy and paste on your calculator. So what's nice is that you can just go back through and change it. Right, we can use our arrow buttons. Do you guys know what this DEL stands for? Delete. So instead of it being x squared, I want it to be 0 squared, right? So inside my parentheses, I want 0. Not 0, 1, just 0. I'm going to delete my 1. Right, then I don't have to retype all my parentheses. I just keep arrowing over. I want minus 0. Plus 1. So again, when I write out my equation, my expression here, I have 0 squared minus 0 plus 1. That's exactly what I have on my calculator. And I can go to enter, and it gives me that. Alright, for our last one, we should have gotten 1? Yeah. Any questions with that? Okay. So hopefully, I know it seems like I'm going really slow, because I am, because I don't want to lose anyone along the way. So hopefully this was a little bit easier today. I have your homework worksheet number 9. So your homework is worksheet 9. The next class will have if you have on your calculator, if it has an H on it, put it in this big. If it has the other one, an N, put it in the box. N in the box, H in the middle. And then erase your name up off the board. N is in the box, M in the box. Yep. It sounds like W. Oh, maybe it's a W. I don't know. Something other than H. Yeah, you're gonna go TA first. Make sure you return the calculators. Once you put your calculator in either the box, then erase your name.
It looks really familiar. There you go.
So guys, make sure you pass back the homework. If there's no letter, put it in the box. I see why you guys didn't do letters. Different letters. So everyone double check that you turned in your calculator and you got worksheet 9. So everyone that did not get worksheet 9 from home, everything that might be under your
Oh, sorry.
Is there else that did number 9? Going to TA.
Homework.
TA.
No, is it your TA outside?
Yeah.
I know you might love your desk. So you're going to go to TA. This is homework. Oh, it's not here. You need homework? Perfect. Alright. So see where it says teacher advisory. So
that's where you want to go next. K200, so it's inside the building called stairs. Okay, so you want to go that way, and then when you see the new fancy part of the building, that's where you go, storage. Sound good? You're welcome. Oh, wait, let me show you Blackboard real quick. I'm sorry. I told you to check on Blackboard, and I forgot to show you.
Kathy,